Ah! Well, here we are, people. We're back again. It seems only yesterday we were talking to you all on YouTube. Time flies. It's really worrying because I cut my lawn on Saturdays, and by Wednesday it looks as if it needs cutting again. So it goes. Time flies. As you get older, it flies quicker. I can tell you that. You'll all be used to that. Apart from with Laurie's haircut, which never seems to change. It just gets.
I've actually had a haircut recently.
But you can't tell, Laurie. You can't tell. You've got that bit hanging over your.
I can tell. I can see the top third of my vision. It has helped. I might still look a bit of a...
Who thinks Laurie should get a proper haircut that's manly?
You just want me to shave it all off.
No, I don't. I just want you to have a proper man's haircut, not this thing that drapes over your forehead. It's very, very strange.
At least I have hair.
Ooh, that had to cut. That was obviously, I just opened the door for that one, didn't I?
You
and
really
I was
did.
nice to him today. I bought him a cheesecake and a Peroni beer.
Yeah, so about...
And
Simon
a pineapple tree.
Always comes in.
Pineapple tree. Don't forget.
Do you want anything from
don't
Tesco's?
talk when I'm talking to you. Pineapple
I
tree.
jokingly said, yeah, I'll have a cheesecake and a beer. So what did he bring back? A cheesecake and a beer. And this rather wonderful pineapple tree.
Look, it's a pineapple tree.
In the office. It's just it's a very miniature pineapple.
It's a bit bizarre.
Quite cute.
I love pineapple.
This
Pineapple's
is
a good
turning
thing.
into a very, very strange live stream already.
Are any of our live streams not strange, really? I think they are pretty strange.
Well, you're involved, so...
Pretty strange people watching us, listening to us, wasting
Don't
their time
the
listening to you and I.
2 minutes.
I know, but I always do that. We're already getting money coming. Look at that, lots of money. Thank you, everybody who's given us money. To Imogen, to
and
Michelle.
That's very kind. Thank you
Great
very much.
Good start to the evening, I say, Mr. Braley. So, what's been going on, Laurie? Tell me what's been going on, because I have no idea, as you know.
Well, let's start off with the reason why you have no idea. So, what were we doing at about 3 o'clock this morning? That's a very open-ended question.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit of a silly way to introduce that one, Laurie. I think, you could be opening yourself to...
Just answer the question, Cal.
I was sleeping in my little bed, fast asleep, and then the phone rings. And I look at it, and if it's somebody I don't like, I don't answer it. But sadly, it was Lawrie Brady, who I don't like, but I feel I had to answer it, so I answered it. And we went rushing off to a 4-fox cub, which had got stuck down a light well. There we are, 3 o'clock in the morning. About 10 feet down, it was stuck at the bottom. First, it looked like a cub, and then actually, when we got to look at it, it looked like a fox. But then when we got it a bit nearer to us, it looked like a cub again. So there he was down there. We got him up on a grasper, and he was all his legs were working, everything was fine. So it was one of my favourite things, which is, as Laurie knows, a rescue release, which is really quite exciting. So there we are. Rescues are coming a bit more common now. Lots of them during the day, few at night, but we're not getting as many as we used to get. And it's a bit strange because the RSPCA have now stopped doing night rescues or call-outs at night at all. So the poor old wildlife hospitals are getting a bit of a battering. So whereas a lot went to the RSPCA, people would normally ring the RSPCA at night, they now have to ring someone else. And sadly, we are on their radar. So off we went last night. It wasn't raining, so that was quite good news. We went off to Wallington, which was about half an hour away. Got there, the people were ever so grateful. And we just got this cub out the hole. We brought him up on a grasper and let him go straight away. So really nice rescue release. So a good one, which I dare say will be on YouTube at some time in the future. Sadly, it won't be on YouTube as well as it should be because somebody broke the camera. It wasn't me. Now, Laurie, just be quiet.
I knew we were talking about it.
Laurie was holding the camera, so he had it in his hand and the lens fell off. It wasn't me. It wasn't my fault, he said to me. The lens fell off the camera, which means it wasn't locked on properly. So now it's cost us an awful lot of money today to buy a new lens for the camera, which is going to come out of Laurie's salary. By hook or by crook, it will come out of his salary. In fact, why did I buy him the cheesecake? That should have gone in the lens fund. But never mind.
It was cheesecake, actually.
It was
very good cheesecake.
It was Tesco's finest, Laurie. Nothing but the best for you,
Tesco's
Laurie.
finest lemon cheesecake slices.
Absolutely. What more could you want? And 2 pieces. You might get fat next.
Won't be able to climb up trees anymore.
No, okay, never mind. We won't go there.
My mother would be proud.
Your mother would be proud. So we've been quite busy. The hospital has been last year when we had COVID, when COVID hit, we were all pulling our hair out because we got busier than ever before. And this year, perhaps oddly, perhaps not oddly, but we're even busier than last year. So people are still at home. I can see why we get more in, because people are at home, but it's even busier than last year. So the hospital have been absolutely ram-packed solid, which is an interesting time, because we've just had to say we have said goodbye to Maru, who's now departed for Spain. I think she's actually gone from the UK now, I'm not sure, but imminently. So she's gone, and Naomi is going. So we've got a big change right at the busiest time of the year, which is not the best time of year. So Maru, we wish you all the best. You'll cry, you'll come back to us in. And Naomi will be going probably by about July time. So she's off as well. So we've had to reinforce our teams, or renew our teams really. We've got Sally, who was a volunteer for many, many years, was an auxiliary for many years, went off, a brave thing to do at her tender age. I have to be careful what I say now. Went off to become a vet. Yeah, but it was really stunning. I mean, to go off and do a vet, I wish I had the bottle to do that. I didn't. She's gone off, she's become a vet, she's great, she's now back, and she's now our senior vet. And we've got Alana, who's Laurie's partner, who is taking over from Naomi shortly. So it's all systems go. A bit of training to be done. Vets need to learn things. So we've got our consultant vets. We're so lucky at Wildlife Aid to have so many consultants vets. We've got people who do orthopedics, we've got people who do ophthalmology, we've got general first referral vets, we've got all sorts of vets. In fact, I was on the phone to one of them yesterday, who's Michael Hamilton, and his wife, who's very, very lovely. They're up in High Wycombe, and they've got a great big practice up there. It's basically a referral practice, but they do all sorts of things. So I did put on my best polite voice and said, could you help us out? Would you become consultants? Would you help us out with things? Because we've got a new vet to teach to do all these things. And they were very, very helpful. So to Hamilton Referrals, we thank you, because they are prominently going to be featured in the future. And if you ever have orthopedic problems with any of your animals, it is certainly a telephone call to make. Michael I've known for many years. We first filmed with Michael back in Bionic Vet days, which must be going back to about 2010 now, probably around there. When he was working at Fitzpatrick Referrals. He's now opened up his own referral centre, and he's a really nice chap. His wife is lovely. They're both vets, so they will be coming on board. How little they know how much we're going to call upon them, but there we are. They will help us, I'm sure, with our general orthopaedic stuff. We had a fox cub in the other day with a broken leg, but it was multiple fractures, just too many to deal with for a fox cub. But hedgehogs, they will help us with as well. And she loves hedgehogs, so we'll be doing a lot of hedgehogs up there. It'll be fine. So, we're very lucky to have such stupendous vets who actually support us so well. So to anybody listening, thank you. We always need more vets. We always need more vet volunteers. Come and work with us just a day a week if you can, or even more if you can. But if you could come in a day a week, that just spreads a load. It means our vets get a bit more time off. They get a bit more time to learn from you, who've probably been in practice for more years than they have. So it's all a learning curve. I mean, life always, anyway, whatever you're doing is a learning curve. But if you feel like volunteering here, if you're a vet or a vet nurse, we'd love to see you. Just give us contact us on the website, tell us what you want to do, or email me or the vet team, and we would welcome you on board with open arms. Would we not, Mr. Brayley?
We would indeed.
We would.
Interestingly, we've had a question from Alexis Roberts over on Facebook. Hello. Who's asked, do you have enough volunteers at the moment? Just going back to that point. So we are urgently in need of volunteers, mostly I believe on evenings and weekends, though we do have large vacancies across the board. We tend to run 3 shifts a day, so it's 9 AM until 1 PM, 1 PM until 6 PM, and then 6 PM until when the centre closes, depending on when that is throughout the year. That can either be in animal care, on reception, or in things like the maintenance side of things and collections and bits like that. So if any of you are local to our centre in Leatherhead and want to help us out, please head over to our website. There's a tab on there for volunteering, and you'll be able to download an application form. And we would love to welcome you on site, sir, if you are able and willing to do so. So if you'd like to do that. Yeah.
We should really we should really put up pictures of both George, who's been with us for a million years. George X. Oh, I'm going to get this wrong now. He was in the Navy somewhere. He was in the Navy. I think was it Merchant Navy? I don't know. I'm not going to get this wrong.
I'm not digging this hole for you.
And we've got Bird's Nest working with us now. We have got Bird's Nest boy. Jacob, Bird's Nest boy, and we'll show you a picture of Jacob. Probably not today, so I doubt we've got one, but we will show you one next week, and you will understand why we call him Bird's Nest boy.
Jacob is the guy who was with me on the recent Sparrowhawk in an extension video that went up. So several people have commented that his hair looks like he's got birds nesting in it. So that is the result of this nickname that genuinely I had no idea about before this live stream started. So now that's going to stick, I believe.
There we are. So that's been going on. We've got we always need volunteers. We need people to help with maintenance. We need people to help with the gardening because we'd like to keep the centre looking nice. There will be a slot for you, and for those who work all day, no excuses, because as Lawrie said, there's an evening shift, there's weekend shifts, and we do have gaps everywhere. We've got over 400 volunteers now. That is very, very devoted. Because if somebody said to me, Simon, now you've retired, would you like to go and help at a wildlife centre and clear up poo? And I'd say, not on your Nelly, people, not on your Nelly. But no, without them we wouldn't be able to function. So amazing job from all of them. And as Lawrie said, the evening shift is 6 till when it finishes, and that can be midnight. I mean, Sally, I'm getting a bit cross.
It was midnight last night, actually.
I'm getting a bit cross with Sally at the moment because I know she's new and I know she's keen, but she comes in about 8 o'clock in the morning and she is usually here till midnight, and things are going to get fraught if she keeps working because she's going to finish herself off. She can't keep going like that. So let's hope she gets herself to a relatively good state, and she's now being joined by a colleague who she went to vet college with called Tim Durden. He's joined us this week. This is his first full week, so he's come on board as well. But they've both got a bit to learn. Sally knows a lot about us because she's been with us for so long. Tim has been thrust into the deep end, so God help him. That's all I can say about Tim. I'm sure he'll be fine.
Oh, both will be absolutely fantastic. We've worked with them several times over the past couple of years. Both are fantastic vets, and we are more than happy to welcome them back on a full-time basis here, and hopefully you guys will see both of them in the videos coming up very soon. You've already seen Sally, and Tim will be starting to feature as and when things develop.
Absolutely. So I had a shout out here. You can do the shout out because it's in red. Lawrie thinks I never read my bit of paper, which is here, but I do read it.
This is the first time you've ever read it.
You can do the shout out, Lawrie. Here we go. Laurie's going to shout, people. There we are.
We just wanted to say a live thank you to Anne Hearn, who very, very kindly sent us a massively kind donation to fund a new incubator, and had a rather lovely handwritten letter explaining how she watches these live streams and wanted to support us, and it was an incredibly kind donation and has enabled us to actually go out and purchase an incubator that we really, really need, especially during our busiest time of the year. So huge thank you to you. That is absolutely amazing, and thank you for your very kind letter as well.
I shouldn't really well, I'm going to mention this because I'm not going to mention names, but I got a message the other day that somebody had just given us £5,000, which I mean is mega. And we look back, and this lady has been supporting us since 1998, and she has, I'm not going to actually say the amount because it'll embarrass her and me, but let's just say over the years she has given many thousands of pounds into the tens of thousands of pounds. So to you, you know who you are. Thank you so much. If I'd asked you, I would have mentioned your name tonight, but because I haven't asked, I won't. But it's people like this who supported us for so many years. They've been following us. They love our work. That's how we survive. That's why we are still here after 40 years, because it takes a lot of money. It takes nowadays. It costs £750,000 to run the centre a year, which is a huge amount of money. But it's because of you that we can do it, and it's because of our volunteers that we're able to cope with all the workload. So it's just huge thanks all around from us. I mean, we sit here doing nothing. Lawrie does less than most. He eats his cheesecake and drinks his beer, and Abby just giggles quietly off screen to the left of Lawrie. Whether she'll be shown tonight. Oh look, she's in the dark. No, she's not quite. She turned the light. I said, Abby, don't turn the light off tonight. I said, so we can see you. Okay, well, Lawrie can go and turn it on again in a minute. But no, I mean, we all work very hard. We love what we do, to be honest. I mean, it's all very well saying it's hard, it's a drudge, it's awful. If we didn't love doing it, I don't think anybody could sustain this sort of hours that we sustain. I mean, I work 7 days a week, as does Lawrie often. Laurie's girlfriend's not so keen on that idea, but there we are. And
but she's now working here.
I bet she doesn't know that you're going to be working tomorrow when all this kit runs. Oh, exciting news, Lawrie, isn't it? It's exciting.
We went down. Bad segue.
We went down to 20 acres today, and I bought the first piece of land for our new Wildlife Aid Centre in 2014. Since then, we've had to produce thousands of reports, which nobody will ever read. They've cost us a fortune. We spent £100,000 on reports, which really is annoying, but without them we wouldn't have got the planning permission. So we've had all that, we've done all that, got there, been there, done it, written the handbook, and now today the first bit of kit arrived to start building the wetlands. So we had a dirty great truck arrive and 2 dozers, and Lawrie and I got very excited because Shane brought them all in. He's got more coming in tomorrow. He's got a 20-ton excavator and a 40-ton excavator coming in, and he said if we go down there, Lawrie and I can drive them. Now Lawrie won't get a turn because it's always going to be my turn to drive the dozer and the thingamybobby, what's it, and the excavator. I want to drive an excavator. It's going to be fun. I want to drive both of them at the same time. No, anyway, so these guys are coming in. They're going to be with us, hopefully, weather permitting, for about 12 weeks. And they're going to sculpture out the ponds and regrade all the land and put the topsoil back how we want it and where we want it. A lot of work to be done. And a lot of it's done with...
This is where it all begins.
A lot of it is done with GPS. So I think I've said to him, well, why do you bother to have operators on the machines? You set the GPS and you go home and have a cup of tea. Not quite as simple as that, he assured me. But basically the GPS will tell him exactly how deep to dig the ponds, where the edges are, what size they are. It's all very clever, but we will be bringing you videos of this construction over the next 12 weeks. And that's if I can get Lawrie out of the bloody bulldozer to actually do some filming, which I think is going to be a bit tricky. He got so excited. Poor little Lawrie got very excited, thought of driving these great big machines.
Is that being a child again? It's wonderful.
I'm going to convert them all to big Gold Rush. I started following Gold Rush recently, and it fascinates me.
No.
So
we're obsessed with Gold Rush.
We're going to go for gold. We're going to go for gold this time. We're going to find gold in the ground, and we're going to make a fortune. So I will be digging down to Australia to find the gold, which is there somewhere. It should be fun. Honestly, it's going to be an interesting build to do. We will be taking pictures of it and videos of it, and Lawrie will have his drone up in the air taking pictures of it. It should be fascinating. I mean, we're going to convert what has been a dormant piece of land for over 20 years into hopefully a magnificent wetlands and obviously meadowlands and everything else where the animals can go and live. So although we're building a new centre there, we're also creating our own sort of brand new wildlife corridor for the wildlife to go through. People will whinge or say, oh, why are you doing that? It's right next to M25. But wildlife, if it's constructed properly and the fences are constructed properly, wildlife can live quite successfully right next to the busiest road in England. So we're going to prove this, aren't we, Lawrie Brayley?
We are.
And Lawrie doesn't know he's going to be out there for the next 5 years, planting reeds, trees, shrubs, and all the things we need to make it beautiful. And we're going to have a big wildflower meadow.
I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with this new place,
Yeah.
as I'm sure are an awful lot of the volunteers, several of which I've already said in the comments that they're overjoyed at the fact that we're finally getting the work started on it. So really looking forward to seeing where it goes. Vicky has asked on Facebook, where is the new site? It's about half a mile that way.
That close, guys. So I mean, volunteers or anybody, to be honest, you've got to ring us first. But I mean, while this construction's going on, which it will be for about 12-16 weeks, Lawrie went out of focus, which is why you saw his hand do funny things. It will be constructed over about 16 weeks. But volunteers, if you're here and you want to whiz up there and have a look, you're welcome. The kit will be there. I think they're only working 5 days a week, but I'm not quite sure. Depends how it goes, and it depends upon the weather. Obviously, if you get bad weather, they're going to get a bit behind. So it gets very wet down there, and you know these big dozers, as big as they are, and as with all these great tracks, if it gets too wet, they're going to get stuck as well. So in fact, the lorry delivering the dozer this morning got stuck, and that was on the very highest part of the land, and the guy had to get in his dozer and pull the lorry out of the mess so the lorry could go away. So this could be an interesting 12 weeks. There could be some exciting times ahead, but I'm so excited it's going to be built. We're doing the wetlands first for 2 reasons. One is we need to raise the building platform of where all the building's going to be, because it does flood, and we've got to raise that by 1 metre. And to do that, we've got to take stuff from somewhere to put it on on the top of where it is now to raise that whole height up by 1 metre. So that's going first, and also the wetland's going to take at least 5 or 6 years to actually come to fruition. We are hoping, we've got our fingers tight crossed, because we've got the Surrey Masons, Freemasonry group, who are going to part sponsor the planting. We know the planting is going to cost £140,000. They are coming in with a massive hope for, we're hoping that they're going to provide £50,000 towards the planting. By the time I finish with them, they will have provided £140,000. They don't know this yet, but you know, it's the point is to get it built and get it planted, because all these plants take time to mature. So all that's going to happen. The electricity's in, the road's in, ground will be broken on Monday, and it will be the start of an incredibly exciting time. It's sort of the pinnacle of my whole time at Wildlife Aid, really. This is my IDOT, if you like. This is me giving back for the future generation. So if I can get this going, get it working, get it all functioning, that would be amazing. We still need massive sponsorship for it. I know you all whinge and ask for money, but when I say we need £6.5 million, I don't expect you to do this, guys, unless of course you win the lottery this weekend. Then, you know, it's up for debate. But no, it's a lot of money to raise, especially after COVID. But we are starting. We're going to build the wetlands, and as more money comes in, we will build the next bit. We've got to build the communication centre first, because it's got to be the security centre where we make sure everything's safe down there, because we don't want anything stolen or vandalised. So that'll come first. Following that, we will build at least half, if not all, of the visitor centre, which to start will be a CPD centre, so we can go and have meetings down there. We can do CPT courses. All those are starting to be written at the moment. So yeah, spades in the ground. I am excited, because at last, after all these years, starting in 2014, we are starting on the new Wildlife Aid Centre. So thank you everybody who's helping. We'll persuade the contractors to do it for nothing, though I think that might be a bit of a big ask. I think they might be nice to us, but then they'll tell me to go and do nasty things when I say I'm not going to pay you. So no, it's happening, it's good, it's going. Let's get off this subject now, let's get on to something else. Lawrie Braley, the floor is yours.
So just before we get into what's been going on here at the centre over the past 2 weeks, there's a couple of questions that have come in on both YouTube and Facebook. So if you do have any questions for either myself or Simon or anyone of the team, please drop them in the comments. Abby is looking at those at the moment. We will try and get through as many as we possibly can. So Armpit Fuzz has asked, I noticed that the pipistrelle bat in your Instagram photo had a significant hole in its wing. How does that get mended, and roughly how long will it take?
Lawrie started, so Lawrie can finish.
So bats are actually amazingly good healers when it comes to the membrane in the wing. They can actually lose pretty much the entire membrane up right the way from the sort of the arm right the way down to the bottom, and it will heal by itself. Very occasionally you do need to provide some sort of mechanical means, whether that be glue or suturing or anything like that, but a lot of the time it's just managing that and allowing that to heal. It does take a little bit of time, which is why when we get cases like that, we send the bat away to another rescue organisation called Surrey Bat Rescue. They have the facilities and the time and the space and all of that lot that's needed to give these bats everything they need for those to heal. But they do heal very, very well, and as far as I'm aware, there's not been a failure to close one of those up that I am aware of over the past 6 years.
It will get better. We just had, guess who's just given us €100, Lawrie? Guess who's just come on?
Hello, Sven.
Here he is. Sven's in the chat. Any chance for the open day this year? Sven, sadly not. We did talk about it. We talked about it again recently. But I think everybody's pretty unsure of what's going to happen with COVID. And with this new Indian variant, it's, you know, to spend all these hours trying to do an open day would be disastrous. We're still thinking of having a virtual open day. I'm not quite sure where that got to, but we all got so busy it sort of goes off the radar a little bit. So probably not this year, hopefully next year, but with the Indian variant. And now we're being told in the UK that we might have to have a third vaccination. So who knows what's coming next? Time will tell, but as long as we keep the wildlife safe and keep doing what we're doing, I don't really care about the other things. We want to keep the wildlife safe, it's important. Nature needs a little help, Lawrie, doesn't it?
So, other than the fox cub from last night, we've seen a whole load of rescues that have happened over the past 2 weeks. Not just with myself and with Simon, but with a whole load of the other rescuers. Jacob actually went out to a fox earlier this evening, and a lot of our other members of the rescue team have been out and about doing 8, 9, 10 rescues a day all across the county. So huge thanks to every single one of you guys that does that side of things. So, Simon, what is going
Lawrie.
on here?
Here?
Yes.
Simon is in a, well, it's a bedroom. It's a sort of an office in the top of somebody's house. They got very worried because they'd heard cheeping and bird noises for some time. So up we went, up the stairs, up the top, and we searched for this bird, which was somewhere in the attic of this house. And I'm not allowed to tell you too much because Lawrie has written it in big letters on my piece of paper. Don't tell them about the... So you've got to watch it, guys.
It's one you definitely will want to watch, that one. Quite a surprise.
It was interesting.
But that one will be coming very soon. The other one is actually a call that we get quite a lot at this time of year, and that is a deer trapped in a fence. So this is a male roe deer. It managed to run through forwards and got wedged by its hips, which is how it usually happens. We were actually called out by the fire brigade, who had originally asked us to come out and tranquilise the deer so that they could then spread the bars of that gate just to lift it out. Luckily, we've worked out over the years that in an awful lot of cases that's actually not necessary, and we don't need to do any sort of vandalism or breaking of the gate, the fence, whatever it may be. We do have, if you've seen in some of our videos, we do have sort of small aluminium plates that we can put either side of the deer. It helps spread the load so that when you lift them out, it's not just pressure in one particular area, it spreads it all out. But luckily in this case it was just a case of covering the head, making sure that the pointy end is secure, and then gently lifting them out and sliding the deer back from where they came. And then it was moved into a transport box because the fire brigade were a little nervous about releasing it in the middle of the street where we were at the time. It was taken a short drive down the road and released back into the wild with nothing other than minor bruising on the legs. So that was quite a happy one, I think you'd agree.
The trick is for anybody who does rescue these deers, when they go into a fence, they obviously get stuck. It's the hips are the widest part of the body, they can't get through, and if you try to pull them out. But half the trick is, not only have we got these sheets which actually spread the point of load, but if you lift the deer up, it takes all the weight off the body and it'll slide back through. So you always slide it back through the way it went in, and we have never ever yet failed to get an animal out of a situation like that. The fire brigade were there with all their cutting gear and all their big rams and all things to open this fence up, and because we went in there, just said, don't need any of that, guys, we can do it our way, thank you very much.
Yes, a lot of the time the general rule is if it can go in, it can go out. And it's the same thing with anything that's stuck in a bird feeder or anything like that. If it can go in and it's not managed to get tangled or the structure hasn't deformed in any way, they should, with enough patience and sort of wiggling, you should be able to get them back out the way that they came in. It's the same with foxes, deer, anything that gets stuck like that.
Even the fox in the wheel got his head through it, and you'll see the video, I'm sure a lot of you have seen it, it can get it back out again, it will happen, no problem at all.
Yeah. The other rescue call actually is one that I think is going to irritate, let's say, quite a few people. So some of you may remember a few weeks ago we released a video about a swan that had been shot, sadly, and it had taken a rather large ball bearing into the side of its head. And there was investigations ongoing about what was going on there. There was another swan there at the time. That swan has turned up again with a lump, a rather large lump hanging from the bottom of its beak. Very kindly rescued by Richard Simmons, who some of you might recognise. He's a world-renowned wildlife artist, does a lot of work with us. He's actually been on this live stream a couple of times. He rescued it, we brought it back to the centre, we took it into our x-ray facility, and sadly this is the result. So what you see on that x-ray on the right hand side, the larger white ball on the right hand side is a ball bearing, and the smaller white ball sort of in the beak, that is a 2-2 pellet, the same thing that you'd see in shotguns or fired out of certain types of air rifle and things like that.
No, I'm going to upset Lawrie. I'm going to upset you now. That wasn't the pellet, mate. That wasn't the pellet.
Oh, what the
There's another
top
ball
steel
bearing.
ball? No, it was a ball
Both of
bearing, but it's not a
No, both
standard
of
air
them.
rifle
I
pellet.
thought both of them were, anyway.
Yeah.
They were there. They were in there, and we managed to get them out, which is pretty good. And in fact, it had some treatment today, that one, didn't it?
It did indeed. So that one, there was quite a significant operation to actually go in and remove both of those pellets. The larger pellet that is in there, we were actually monitoring because it wasn't causing any change in behaviour, and the risk that's associated with doing that sort of major invasive surgery, you've got to weigh up the costs and the benefits with that. But it did come in with this large abscess. And so Sally, when she went in to remove that, removed both of them. It was a very, very tricky surgery. The pellet had lodged just below the orbit, so just below the eye socket. So trying to get that out without causing any damage was extremely difficult. But luckily, both of those are now removed. The wound has been treated over the course of, I believe, the past week and a half-ish. And it is doing really, really well. It is healing beautifully. And as of today, they're stopping doing the constant bandage changes. They're letting it breathe for a little longer, and it is looking like that swan is going to make a full recovery. So very, very lucky on that one. Sadly, that is, I believe, the 5th or 6th shooting victim that we've seen even this year, just in swans. We see it a lot with owls and buzzards and things like that, a lot of shotgun injuries, but unfortunately we've seen a huge spate of what appears to be young groups of kids running around with catapults and taking pot shots at random birds in lakes, whether it be swans, ducks, geese, anything like that. We've seen a huge flood of it recently, so I will reserve my thoughts on that, but you can imagine what they are.
We won't talk too much because I'd probably end up in prison. But anyway, so that's doing well. I mean, that was a big cavity because it was such a dirty pellet, and there's lots of mess went in with it, and it was rusty anyway, so it caused a load of abscess, a lot of necrotic tissue around it, and that will have to heal by what we call second intention. So we take the pellet out. There's a very big sort of cavity underneath it, but it will slowly heal from the inside out. So as opposed to stitching it all up, because you could possibly trap some poison or some stuff in there you don't want, we let it heal by second intention, so it will actually heal from the inside out. And it looks so much better today. I don't know whether you have got a picture there, but there was one taken at some point today. It's looking really, really much better.
It is looking so much better.
So that's the 4th swan. There were 4 swans on that lake. 2 died. 1 we had in and dealt with last time, and then this one flew off at the time because the wounds obviously weren't that severe. But it kept coming back, and swans do, they come back to where they want to be. And when it came back this time, we did notice the big lump underneath. We hoped it was something else, but sadly when we x-rayed it, as you saw from the pellets in it, that was what it was. But it will go back. It will take time, and we will probably, after a few weeks, move it from here to the Swan Sanctuary, who are brilliant with us. They do take a lot of our birds in. But the reason it goes there and not stays here, because swans are quite social animals, and if you leave them too long on their jacksie all by themselves, they get miserable and lethargic, and they don't do well. So if you put them with a whole group of other swans, they do much better, and it will be released out from the Swan Sanctuary in due course. They've already released 2 of ours this year, haven't they? So more to come. Off we go.
So, patient-wise, it's been incredibly busy. Our volunteers, our vet teams, our receptionists, our rescuers have been working absolutely around the clock, dealing with dozens and dozens and dozens of calls and intakes and everything. And we're delighted to say that the first young animals that we've admitted this year are actually ready for release. So a couple of you may remember a couple of live streams ago, we were talking about the first baby birds of the season, these tiny little jelly beans that arrived, desperate for food, fed every 15 minutes. Amazingly, they have the world moves very quickly in the bird world, and they have made amazing progress. And this is actually one of the blackbirds that we had that arrived as a tiny little chick, as well as this guy. So this is a great tit on there. Let's hope that we don't get demonetized for that. And this guy, this is actually a young robin, and they will remain looking like this for about a year before you start to see the characteristic red breast that you would usually associate with a robin. But they are able to feed for themselves, they're able to fly, they're able to do everything that is intended for a wild bird, and amazingly they have actually gone back out to the wild now to start their second chance at life. So it's always a fantastic sight when that first happens. And I believe the first group of corvids, so crows, jackdaws, jays, things like that, they have also gone for release recently as well. So we're starting to get to the other end now.
We're going through. It takes about 16 weeks from a bird to go from the egg to fully mature. It's always amazed me because it's taken me 69 years and I'm still not there. And Lawrie, who's now only about 26 years in, is nowhere near maturity. He's got so far to go.
Simon.
28. He's even older than I thought he was. My God, no chance there. So no, I mean it's very quick. So you get, you know, an egg turns into a chick, and with 16 weeks, it's got all its primary feathers. It's ready to go out in the world by itself. So lots of rescues going on, and I guess we'll still have a lot more to come. What we get next, really, the next batch of rescues for us, is where the animals have left the parents, left the nest, left wherever they are, and they start to go off and have their own adventures. And they're not nearly as streetwise or as savvy about the wild as they would be. That little fox cub we went out to the other day, obviously just come out the earth for probably not too long out, just adventuring, and he found a chain link fence and thought this is really fun because his head fitted through it, but then with his ears upwards and whatever, he couldn't pull back through it, he couldn't go either way, so we just had to cut that chain link fence and let him out, and he scampered off, which you'll see into the wild as well. Laurie's moving at great speed now because this is another one we went out to. It was horrible to see when I went up to it. I went from a walk to a run because this fox had been dangling in this net for probably some hours. One leg was totally stuck, one of the back legs was completely stuck in the net, and I just needed to cut him out quick because he was obviously in trouble. He was getting a bit more lethargic, but he didn't even try to bite me, so that's how worn out he was. But that one leg, which he's still in with us now, I don't know if he's on the cameras or not, but she hit it, whatever. It's a fox cub. That one leg is still knuckling on that leg. It's still not using it properly. But the nice thing, when it's not under pressure, when we watch it on the cameras, which we do all the time, and I will get one lined up when I'm talking to you, so I doubt it's out, but it might be, you never know. There he is, he's out now. If you switch to the camera, he's out there now eating, Lawrie. But he is using the leg. When he's not under stress, he is placing the leg, he's putting the foot down, and that's all very good. So it's taken 2 weeks to get to a state where he's using the leg. He's getting physio every day. He's not lost his appetite, as you can see. Little devil, he's eating us out of house and home. But if you see him walk, which you might do in a minute, you might not, that leg is not right yet. It is 10 times, if not 100 times better than when he came in. And I am pretty convinced that he will go back out to the wild successfully in time. He'll probably join one of our groups when he's a bit bigger than that, and he'll go out to the wild probably in July and be fine. So there he is, just having his dinner now.
Interesting enough, it is actually quite a good case to talk about, because one of the issues that we have with people who potentially will see a case like that and will just cut the animal free and let them go is the risk of this sort of secondary issue of constriction wounds coming into play. And if you do get an animal that is very tightly caught, whether it be in netting or a fence or anything like that, and there's significant constriction there, they can get wounds that will develop over the course of 48, 72 hours.
It can take a week, Lawrie. It can take a week for a constriction wound to come out. So you let it go, you think it's fine, and that skin might or might not go necrotic, but it takes us a week to really work out that it's going to be fine. The skin's not going to get necrotic, and it doesn't need any operations further. It just needs a bit of time to get itself well. So yeah, just don't always read things. If it's very tight, he's got that leg up now. Look, there she is. But look, there she placed it then. She's placing it now, but then you can see it's not quite right. So yeah, knuckling on it now, knuckling a couple of times, but it can place it. So time will tell. I could see that, you probably couldn't because it's a bit darker on your screen than mine. So that's cool. That's good. One saved, we hope. Fingers crossed, tightly.
So yeah, if you do come across any animal in that sort of situation, please just give a local rescue, a vet, or someone in that field a ring. It's not that we're trying to steal the rescue away from someone who is perfectly capable of actually cutting the animal free. It's just that in a lot of these cases, you have to make sure that the wounds aren't going to cause issues down the line, and it's worth, if you are worried, bringing the animal in, giving them that time, seeing what develops, and hopefully it'll be fine and it can just go back. But if it does need further treatment, then at least it's in the right place.
So here's a text. Obviously Sally has nothing better to do than to watch YouTube, she will get into trouble for not working hard. She's obviously watching us on YouTube now and saying his wounds, she said, his wounds, when it's her, so she's got it wrong as well, came out last night 10 days after we cut it out of that net. So it took 10 days for those wounds to really become transparently clear. So thank you, Sally, for that. Now get back to your work, so I'm not going to pay you for the time you're watching YouTube. It's as simple as that.
You're so cruel.
I am. I wonder if we get a picture of Sally up now. Let me just look at the screens quickly. Where is she standing? She's not in that room. Where is she?
She's going to be running away. If she's watching this live stream, she's going to be running as far away from the cameras as it is possible to
She might be at home. She might have gone home, actually, because Tim's on this evening. So Tim's there. I can't see Sally, so perhaps she's watching from home. So I take back everything I said, nearly, but not quite.
So, other patients we've had, sadly, we've been experiencing an awful lot of entanglement cases recently. So we had a hedgehog that arrived with us, I believe yesterday, that was tangled in tennis netting. That was cut off before it arrived here, but that is here. That was very loud, so. That is here with constriction injuries and needs to be checked, and we just
Laurie,
okay.
shush. Right, okay, so message from Sally. I'm at home. Day off. I mean, day off.
We've got no cameras there.
I haven't had a day off for 10 years. How come she gets a day off? Okay, so she's a star. She's at home. Good job too, because I get very cross with her. She works. She gets in here at 8 o'clock in the morning most mornings, and she's often still here at midnight. And you can do that occasionally. It's fine every now and then to do that, but not every day, Sally Jones. Just pace yourself, because we don't want you falling to bits on us. It's really important that you're still here in 155 years' time. Think of that. That'll make you really scared.
Some of the other patients that you guys might have seen either on our previous live streams or over on our social media channels is this little female Sparrowhawk. Now, Sparrowhawks are one of my favourite birds of prey, I have to say, and this one unfortunately arrived with quite a nasty break to her wing. Luckily, it wasn't what we call displaced, which is when the bones don't line up properly, and we were able to, that little thing that you see sutured into the side of the wing is a splint, and it's just there to hold everything in place, just to make sure that there's no movement that can displace those bones, and just give her enough time for those bones to heal. And amazingly, she has done absolutely fantastically. That is now off, and she's currently up in our top aviary, up at the top of the centre, flying back and forth beautifully. We're just waiting for her to put on a little bit of weight, do a little bit of physio on that wing, and then she will also be able to return to the wild as well. So luckily didn't need any sort of orthopaedic operation, but she should be heading back out to the wild within the next couple of weeks.
We're getting so many comments tonight. We've got Alana watching it. We've got Sally watching it. We've got Lucy watching it. Everybody's watching us tonight. You mad fools. And Scottish Astronomer, as always, is watching it. So, you know, and I bet Scottish Astronomer always gives us money. Perhaps she hasn't. Perhaps I've put my foot right in that one. She has. £25. She's won.
So thank you very, very much for that.
£25 for the Lawrie fund for breaking a lens in the first place. That's who should be paying for this lens, guys. No, so everybody's watching this. It's really great to have you all here. I've had a thought. I'm going right off topic now, Lawrie, because we do this every 2 weeks. Lawrie and I, like idiots, sit here every 2 weeks. We don't know why you watch us, but that's one of those things. We had an idea, which you probably won't like, but here's a thought. We were thinking of dropping this back to once a month, and in the second week, so instead of doing a normal one, we were going to do a Patreon special one, much more unabridged. So Simon will be much more his normal self to our Patreon members. It's just a thought, guys. Let us know what you think. It's every 2 weeks. You seem to like it. We think once a month is fine, but if you would put up with and become a Patreon member, that obviously is huge advantage to us, because if we get the more Patreon members we get, the more it sort of increases our funding, which is brilliant. And you know I always talk about money, and I always get told off about it, but that's what keeps us going. There's no other reason than volunteers and money keeps us doing what we're doing. We've been doing it 40 years. We'll keep on going. I probably won't keep going that much longer, but you never... Lawrie, don't you smile now. Lawrie, no smiling there. I can see... Oh, he's in so much trouble. No, but so, have a thought. Give us your comments. Patreon every second week. Normal every other week. Let us know what your thoughts are. I can probably guess them now because Laurie's already told me what you'll think of it. And I should be booed out of the room, apparently. But we'll see. Let us know.
So a few questions that have come in over the past couple of minutes. Thank you to everyone who has submitted a question. If you do have anything you want to ask either of us, please leave it in the comments. We'll try and get through as many as we possibly can on that one. So Izzy R has asked, other than tawny owls, do you have any birds of prey in at the moment?
I don't know.
You
don't ask
remember,
me.
do you?
I just run the centre. We have got birds of prey.
We've had a few in recently. We've had everything from buzzards to sparrowhawks to
Can we,
kestrels.
Lawrie? No more talk about buzzards for a few weeks. I'm still recovering. I'm still recovering from the buzzard attack. Here's UK's best raptor rescuer, skewered by a buzzard. How the mighty do fall, Lawrie. With a smile like that, you'll be the next one to go. No, go on, keep going.
Oh God. We have had quite a few more. Currently we haven't had our first red kite of the season yet. We didn't get red kites until about 2 to 3 years ago. There was a release project over in Wales, and then they moved across the M4 motorway, and they're now working their way around the M25. So we have started to see them a lot more. They are absolutely stunning birds, big 2-meter wingspan. And I know for those of you in the US, a 2-meter wingspan is probably tiny compared to some of the eagles and condors over there. But for us, they are very, very big birds, and we do get our fair share of them. We haven't seen one this season, but I imagine we will get one before too long. But we've seen everything from kestrels to sparrowhawks to a hobby as well. One of my favourite birds. They're a beautiful thing, sort of like a miniature peregrine falcon. Beautiful things. And I think that's about it for birds of prey. Can you think of any others?
I can think of another one because he's just sent a message in. So Bird's Nest is also on the chat tonight.
Oh no.
And has given £10 of his salary back. What a fool! What a fool! Takes it in one hand, gives it back in the next. I thought quite like that as well. Little guy, is it true that Simon is 6'5" and can pick up Lawrie with a single hand while slam dunking a basketball? Absolutely, guys. Absolutely. I can slam dunk Lawrie anytime.
Crest 5.
I can do things with that pineapple tree which would scare Lawrie to death.
Jane is just asked actually, do you get peregrine falcons? Yes, we do.
We do. We do.
Absolutely love peregrine falcons. So we've done quite a lot of work with a lot of the local peregrine projects over in Epsom and in Woking. Haven't had any calls about the broods this year, but hopefully we won't need to, but we're always available if we are needed for those. If you head back onto the YouTube channel as well, you'll see a lot of things that we've done with peregrine falcons over the years, including one that fell down a chimney and one that was lost in a construction site that we had to put back into this rather beautiful nest box over in Woking. So if you want to see more about that, I believe the Woking Peregrine Project's webcams are live at the moment.
They are.
And that always makes for absolutely fascinating viewing if you want to see a peregrine falcon grow from this tiny white fluffy chick right the way to one of nature's most efficient predators.
And on top of which of everything else, all the snide comments from Lucy Kells. We've now got Sally Jones back on her day off saying one-eyed tawny owl in FP14.
Yes.
So yes. So she's now telling us our job, Not only does she just come on as new vet, but she's now telling us what to do and when to do it. So I think the answer to that is next time we do one of these, Sally Jones is going to be in the mastermind chair. We'll put her in the black chair in the office, and we will make her feel so small. So small.
That's unnecessary. So in terms of that tawny owl, we get a lot of tawny owls that come in through, usually it's an RTA, sort of a road traffic accident, hit by a car, hit by a truck, something like that. And with a lot of these raptors, they can get quite significant eye damage. It's one of the major things that we see with birds of prey in general. Unfortunately, the damage to the eye was too severe. And the eye could not be saved, and unfortunately with that there's a massive, it's called an interocular pressure, it's the pressure inside the eye, and that can cause a significant amount of discomfort, and it's really not particularly comfortable for the bird. So we do what's called an evisceration on an owl, and it sounds a lot more brutal than it is. So usually if you remove an eye, it's something called an enucleation, which is where you take the whole eye out and everything's fine. With a tawny owl, the eye is actually so large that it makes up a large amount of the structure of the head. So if you take the whole eye out, you actually get a deformity in the head, and they're unable to hear properly because the shape of the facial disc is vital for concentrating sound. So what we do in that point is effectively you go in, you take the contents of the eye out, you make sure that everything's all closed up. They heal really, really well. Owls don't really rely on sight when it comes to hunting. There's been a lot of research by vets, rehabbers, ophthalmologists, everything into that. They rely almost entirely on sound, and you can remove a single eye from a tawny owl. We've done it several times. Obviously you can't remove both, but we've done it several times, and we've had many, many occasions where that's worked out perfectly, and the owl was perfectly able to hunt. So that's what's happened with that owl. Sally has actually removed the eye, and the owl is recovering at the moment. Once the eye is removed, it's actually not that long before the owl can head back out to the wild, and that discomfort is gone. So it's quite a procedure. I think we've shown it a few times on the channel, though we're not doing it at the moment because YouTube tends not to like the idea of eye removal. So
like, I'm going to cut in now because I'm just I know we're not quite at the end, but I need to cut in because we always forget to do this. So we need to ask people to default their Amazon page to smile.amazon.co.uk, because that way we get a donation if you mention us as your charity. If we're the charity, we get money from your purchase, which is really brilliant. And we also have an Amazon wish list, which is really, really important. There's everything we need to buy on there. But we just hadn't. I know Laura's going to get cross with me now, but we have lots of things we want on the wish list all the time. One of the things are 1 mil syringes. Would you believe, guys, that we use over 25,000 1 mil syringes every single year? It sounds horrendous. We use, in the busy times, we're using 100 a day because we feed with them, we feed the babies with them, we give injections with them because some of the birds need such a tiny amount, you can only use a 1 mil syringe. So that's what we do. Now, if you go and buy syringes for us, which is absolutely great, they're about anything from 10 to 12 pounds a box. If we buy syringes, trade, we can get them for about 3 to 4 pounds a box. So although people love giving us product, we could buy 3 times more for the same money. So it's always a battle for us. Yes, we need 25,000 of them, but you know, you pay 3 times more than we do. So if you can give us money for those, and if somebody wants to buy us 25,000 1 mil syringes, we will have used them within 1 year from now. That's pretty terrifying, really, isn't it? Pretty damn scary, I reckon. So we've done that. I'm going to do one last thing. So we mentioned the Patreon thing. Please become a Patreon member because that really helps us as well. And we've still got this Your Fun Surrey application. We need you to visit the link on the screen, which I'm sure Abby will be putting on right now, and hit the agree button at the bottom of the page and confirm your support, because it does give us a chance to get into some quite serious funding from Surrey. It would be amazing. I will probably, if we get that funding from Surrey, Lawrie will probably have to get the what's the word I want? You know the word I want.
Defibrillator.
That's the one. That's the word I wanted. You have to get that out because I should be sort of gasping for air at the bottom of it. It could be brilliant for us, but we need lots of people to support us. You don't have to be in the UK, so anybody in the world can come on and support us for that. And the more comments we get, the more agree we get, the more comments that are written, the more likelihood we get a chance to pick it up, because they pick up the most liked and well used charities in Surrey, which we're one. But sadly, so many of those charities are for people and other things. Very few wildlife charities or animal charities get mentioned because it's small one. When we go for donations, when you look at what people give when they give to charity, wild animals are in the bottom 10%, and wild animals are in 1% of that 10%. So wildlife, you know, doesn't have the voice. Everybody says animals don't have a voice. Domestic animals have a bit of a voice because there's normal people supporting them, but wildlife gets very little voice at all, which is why nobody ever talks to Lawrie. He gets so little support, poor old Lawrie down here. Right, I've gone through the bits I had to go through, which got us out the way of that. Over to you again, Lawrie, now, I guess.
So a few more questions have been coming in. Thank you so much to every single one of you who have been asking questions. Guest family is asked, do you insert eye prosthetics just for birds? So we don't do prosthetics with any wild animal. We get a lot of comments, especially if it comes to things like leg removal or anything like that, whether you can add 3D printed prosthetics. And whilst that can work a lot with domestic animals, with wild animals you really need to make sure that they are absolutely at 100%. What you can't have is that prosthetic wearing down over the course of weeks to months and then causing an issue, and effectively you've released an animal that in a certain amount of time is going to end up starving to death anyway. We have to make sure it's at absolutely 100%. We can't pull them back in and just go, oh, that needs a bit of work, can we just fix that? So we haven't done any work with prosthetics. There's a lot of ways to do things where that isn't necessary, whether it's through imping, whether it's through orthopedic operations and things like that, where you're still putting something in but it's not the same as a prosthetic. But no, in general, in wildlife you can't really get away with prostheses. I think you'd probably agree with that one.
I would agree with that one. So yeah, we don't agree with it. It doesn't work. As Lawrie says, you know, your dog can have a prosthetic leg, animals can have a prosthetic leg if you can get to them and check them every month or every 6 months or whatever. But you know, we can't do that with wildlife. When it leaves us, we hope we never see it again, to be honest. So it's got to go out at absolutely 100%. So that's why we don't do that, and that's why we are so careful, and our ethos is very, 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 very strict.
Question, interesting enough, and this is a little bit of a hot topic on this one, especially here in the UK. Would you say that Brexit has had any effect on the availability of equipment or medication?
Yes, it has. We know that for a fact. I mean, supplies sometimes are harder to get. 1 mil syringes were harder for a while because they're not manufactured in the UK, they come from China. Foodstuffs, yeah, everything that happens in the political world will affect us to some extent. We try to stay well clear of politics, because if I get on my politics stand, Lawrie has to cut me off immediately. I was asked a long time ago to be an MP, and I would have been a great MP. I would have lasted 3 minutes before I told everybody to get off and go and. So yeah, it wouldn't have been a good ending, would it really? So don't do that. We do what we do well. I'd like to stick with what we do. I try to avoid the political arena as much as we can, because we've got enough to do here, and I like to do what we do well as opposed to trying to dabble in everything. But we have, to a degree, we've left that in a way with IDOT. IDOT is something I think so vitally important worldwide and for all humankind, because we have really not done this world a lot of good recently. So IDOT's going well. Again, it's a bit of a philanthropic thing for us because we won't make any money from it. So we're desperately looking for a sponsor for IDOT. Douglas has been doing the most amazing work. He came on to do 2 days a week, but he's had so much uptake of it that he's had to do full time, which means obviously we can only pay him for that much less. He was booked for a year to do 2 days a week. Now at the rate he's going to do about 3 or 4 months before we run out of money. So anybody can think of any corporate or any nice high net worth individual who wants to sponsor our IDOT project for a year. It's going to cost sort of £30,000 or £40,000 a year to run it, and you know, it's difficult for us because I think we should do it, but also we should be spending the money on what we do best, which is saving animals. But I do think IDOT's really important, and in a way, as I've always said, IDOT, or the new centre, is probably our IDOT back to you. So you know, it's a big IDOT, pretty big. But yeah, that's what we're going to do. So Lawrie, we're getting very near 8 o'clock.
We are. Just got a couple of questions to go through that have come in. So Ben has asked, do you save invasive species? And if so, are you allowed to release them back to the wild? So it's an interesting one, that one, because there's various rules for invasive species.
We have to, sadly, sometimes it's not sadly, but more normally sadly, we have to abide by the law. So if it's an invasive species which doesn't have a death threat on it, we obviously will do our best. If it's
under
an invasive,
license, we have licenses.
Yeah,
for
licenses for everything we can. If we can't get a license and it's against the law for us to do anything with it or keep it, sadly we do have to euthanize. We cannot break the law, as much as I'd like to on many occasions break the law. I think I get into a lot of trouble.
Luckily, there are actually comparatively few species that are absolutely categorically you cannot do anything with this. Things like, unfortunately, ringneck parakeets are one of those. Muntjac deer are, depending on your location as well. You need licenses for those, and they won't give those in certain locations. But a lot of things like certain types of geese and things like that, they are under license. So you have to apply for a license. You get a license to release a certain number per year. and luckily the number that we get more than covers everything that we deal with. So there are certain ones that you have to apply for, I believe, as and when they come in, things like mandarin ducks. If we get one in, we then have to apply for a license to do anything with that. But it's very complicated depending on the species. But yes, we do deal with invasive species where we possibly can. I think it's probably the easiest way of saying it.
Lots of comments coming in. They're coming in so fast now it's hard to keep up with it. Somebody, Scottish Astronomer says maybe I'll get a peerage. I'd love a peerage. I'd love to go to House of Lords. There are very few Lords members who actually speak up for the environment, and I think that's so important. I'd love to go there, but I would actually like my damehood rather than a sirhood, because I just think throwing gladioli all over the House of Lords would be really funny. I mean, if Dame Edda can do it, I don't see why I can't do it. It would be fun. I just think, yeah, we need more voices in the Lords for environmental matters. We do have Zach Goldsmith, who has been brilliant. We know Zach reasonably well. He's a very busy man, hard to get hold of him, but I mean, he does speak up so strongly and so well for the environment, so good on him. But it needs more of us up there, guys. It needs more of us up there doing it. And, you know, I can imagine myself sitting in the House of Lords, just looking down my glasses at Lawrie and saying, "Come forward, young man, your time is now."
Abby's just given me a look of, this has gone weird, and I agree, it has gone weird.
All our stuff goes weird, everything goes weird here, so because we're weird people, but we love what we do, so that's what it's all about. Lawrie, we're getting to the end of the day. I'm just going to say one hello to a Sean member. She's been shorn today. She's very upset at her shearing. She said her hair is shorter than mine, so it will grow. Don't panic, it will grow, don't worry. Lawrie, we're going to shore you next. We're going to shore you and Jacob. That would be a great fundraiser. People say, do we do fundraisers? We don't have time. Please do a fundraising event for us. Have a coffee morning. Have anything, any fundraiser. Just once for us would be absolutely amazing, because we just don't have time to do them. I'd love to. It's why Open Day is a shame that we've missed that again. It's a shame. It's a bit tragic because it makes us quite good money. But if you all did one tiny little thing at home, had one little tiny event and raised anything from £10 upwards, it would make our Open Day look very small, to be honest. So lots of things, you know. I talk about money. I'm going to sign off now, Lawrie, really, because it's getting that time of day, and I know what you're like, because you'll keep going for another 10 minutes. Then I shall get told off because I didn't stop you.
I haven't had a single thing to say for the past 10 minutes. You've just been on a proper waffle.
A proper what, Lawrie? Sorry, a proper what, Lawrie? Waffle? Yeah. You're talking to your boss, calling him a waffler?
Yeah, well, it's. I think it's time I got my own back for the amount of jibes you've thrown my way.
That's the last cheesecake that you get from me, young man. I can tell you. Guys, it's pretty much there. Lawrie, if you want your last word, I will let you have it tonight, because there's so many questions still coming in. I hope we've answered some of them. You can always email us. You can always ask us questions out of this, because we will get to you, I promise. I don't think I ever miss answering an email when it comes into me. And I shouldn't have said that, because I get hundreds of them and it drives me mad, but there we are. So I'm going to say goodnight, really, and I'm going to let Lawrie have the last 30 seconds.
So several comments have been coming in about how to do fundraising events for us. So you're more than welcome, if you would like to sort of organise something, if you drop us an email to mail@wildlifeaid.org.uk, or if you want to get to Abby and I, if you contact us on media, MEDIA, @wildlifeaid.org.uk, we'd be more than happy to help with photos or anything like that. If you would like to help us out, that would be absolutely incredible. Please get in touch and we'll try and do everything that we can to help you do that. That would be more than greatly appreciated. But I think we are getting to the end, sadly, on this one tonight, and I would like to say a huge thank you. That is a form.
So I could really cut her name off. This is somebody we released. Lawrie went up a tree and released a little tornado back into its nest the other week. These people have been really helpful and really lovely. They've got a beautiful piece of land, and she just sent me a little text saying she came across this morning. So there is a beautiful little roe deer fawn. The answer to that, people, if ever you find one of those, providing it's not in a place of great danger, it's not in the middle of a road, it's not in the middle of somewhere disastrous, leave it alone. Mum will be close to it. She won't be very far from it. She'll come back and check it every now and then, but they can go away for 3, 4, 5 hours sometimes, but they know they're there. The deer will be fine, so unless it's really wet, bedraggled, or looks in big trouble, then don't touch it. And if it is, you think it's in big trouble, please ring a wildlife hospital first just to get their guidance, because we get so many calls where somebody's picked it up, they put it in their car, they've taken it home, they put it in a blanket, all the things that are a disaster. So please, yeah, first, well, it's not our first, we went out to a roe deer farm probably 10 days, 2 weeks ago, I think.
We've done a few, yeah.
Done a few. So yeah, leave them alone. They'll probably be fine, and Mum will be there. She'll be feeding it, looking after it. So I shall ring this person back up in a minute and just pass all that to her. But they've got a beautiful wildlife release site. We're still looking for release sites for our foxes and our badgers this year. It's got to be quiet. It's got to be where the public won't find it. All sorts of criteria. Again, if you can offer some land, if you know somebody who's got land, give us an email. And I had promised a couple of minutes ago to stop talking. Lawrie, sign off before I keep going all night, please.
So as always, to all of you, thank you so much for your support. As Simon said earlier, both of us are absolutely amazed that so many people want to sit on here for over an hour and listen to us waffle about random topics. Your support is amazing. We could not do what we do without your support, without your time, without your donations, without your shares, without everything. You are the reason that we are here and that we can still do what we do. So huge thank you to every single one of you for donations, for comments, for everything. And as always, we will see you in 2 weeks' time. I hope you have a fantastic 2 weeks, and we will see you then.